Tuesday, October 18th, 2011. I am the lowest ranking member, but I'm chairing until Councilmember Rosendahl, our vice chair, arrives, and he is expected shortly. We're going to hold number one, which I know is of interest to him. Why don't we take the Port of LA and the Board of Harbor Commissioners reports first, number 4 and 5. If we can take that first, Madam Cio, if you'd like to introduce number 4.
Yes, under item 4, the Board of Harbor Commissioners and City Attorney submit for council approval a permanent board order and the accompanying ordinance, respectively, to amend the port tariff, Section 21, Item 2105, relating to the collection by the port of an infrastructure cargo fee. The proposed amendment would postpone the start date for collection of the fee from January 1, 2012 to January 1, 2014, and would state that the specific amount of the fee would be determined no later than September 30th, 2013 in a future tariff amendment. Harbor staff are here to discuss this fee and also want to talk a little bit about how it's consistent with the city's efforts to remain competitive with the new Panama Canal improvements.
Okay.
Good morning, Councilmember Garcetti. Mike Christensen, Deputy Executive Director at the Port of LA. What we're requesting for approval of today is another postponement of our infrastructure cargo fee, which is had been crafted to supplement the port revenue funding on projects related to goods movement within the port complex. This is an effort that was undertaken jointly by the ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach. It had been determined that it was not in the best interest of the port complex to put this fee forward on the timeline that the latest postponement had put it on. We did not want to see this burden falling to an industry that was already heavily impacted by the recession. The projects that this fee funds, some of which had been had gone through some delays due to environmental permitting, could be funded, either were being delayed or could be funded through general revenue funds or alternate funding. We were fortunate to get some additional stimulus funding for a couple of our projects, and the biggest project on the list, the Gerald Desmond Bridge, the Port of Long Beach project, was able to secure some additional state funding. So we're requesting that this be postponed again as a favor to our industry, and also the fact that as we round the corner into the year 2014, we'll be facing some significant competitive pressure from the Panama Canal. We felt this would be the wrong message to be giving the industry right now in the face of that competition.
Is there any tariff right now at all, or is this brand new tariff, or is it a raising of it?
This is a modification for the on the existing tariff number 4, which applies to a broad number of things in the.
How much is that now per container? What is the level of it now?
Oh, there is no infrastructure cargo fee at all being assessed right now.
Gotcha.
The amount of that fee has, by design, been made variable depending on the specific projects that would be funded. Unlike some fees that you hear about, this would be targeted to individual projects.
Right.
So the amount of the fee floats. The projects are fixed. The amount is variable. And as you see in front of you, this proposed postponement would have a deadline for establishing the amount on that fee, along with a deadline for when that fee would be enacted.
2014. Okay. All right. Well, if you're able to continue the projects or the core projects in Long Beaches as well, I see no reason not to send that message to the industry. So we'll go ahead and move the CLA report on this. Or
It's the Harbor Report.
Okay, it's the Harbor Report. I had some notes from the CLA, but we'll move the Harbor Report then. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Let's go to number 5, please.
Under item 5, the Board of Harbor Commissioners submits for council approval the First Amendment to a contract with Parsons Water and Infrastructure Incorporated for construction management support services for ongoing improvement projects for the TRAPAC and China shipping container terminals at the Port of Los Angeles. The amendment would extend the contract term from 3 years to 6 years to expire on January 15, 2015, so that Parsons can continue to coordinate the various ongoing projects for TRAPAC and China shipping at the port. and the CAO also has submitted a report and recommendation for approval.
Who'd like to start?
Yes, Mike Christensen again, Port of Los Angeles. The item in front of you is a request to extend the term and not add budget to a construction management contract for the organization that is working with us, assisting us in doing construction management on both the TRAPAC and the China shipping projects. These are both projects, perhaps more accurately called programs, that are made up of a number of individual projects. They are both moving forward. They are both generating some good jobs in the port. We put both of the first elements of these projects online about a year ago. 2 new container wharfs, one for TRAPAC, one for China shipping. So those are now in service and receiving vessels. This contract will help support port staff in continuing both of those projects over the next 3 years.
What were they're finished in construction though, or what sort of work will Parsons be doing?
Parsons will be doing construction management on the next several projects related to those programs. TRAPAC is going out to bid for the buildings. We finished the wharf work. Now we're working into the backlands. We're doing the buildings as the next element. And then following that will be the actual backland construction, which in the case of TRAPAC will be a new automated terminal. So as those move into construction, Parsons would be available to help there. On China shipping, we're going to be moving into what we call Phase 2B, which is some additional backland work followed by new wharf work. Both of those will require some construction management services.
And what's the nature of China shipping's backland work? What sort of buildings?
It'll be additional container yards, additional room to stack containers in the backlands, followed by the Phase 3, which is another extension to their wharf to allow them to bring some larger vessels in.
Gotcha. How many automated terminals do we have, like the TRAPAC one? Are there any?
TRAPAC would be the first automated terminal on the West Coast.
So walk me through what that means. Just how's an automated terminal work in terms of the, is that once the containers are off, there's an automation of the movement of those containers onto trucks and other things, or what is?
That's correct. Automated terminals come in various sizes and shapes, but the one being planned for TRAPAC would involve moving once the container's off the vessel and onto the ground, it would move with automated equipment or remote controlled equipment into a stacking area. And once it gets into the stacking area, it's totally automated. Cranes will then stack, sort, and then at the other end, when the container is due for delivery, they would retrieve and then either place it on a truck to go out or take it over to the rail yard and put it on a train.
How long have automated terminals existed? Is that relatively new in the industry?
One of the first automated terminals was actually in the Port of Los Angeles for Matson over a decade ago. Though they've come and gone. Matson was moved to the other port, and they chose to do a non-automated terminal at the other port.
For technical issues, or?
For technical issues, it was a little ahead of its time.
Kind of like the LAX baggage first time around?
That's, or Denver baggage. Yeah.
Right, Denver is even better.
So the technology is now caught up with it. There are automated terminals all over Asia. There's an automated terminal in the Port of Norfolk on the East Coast, and so we're due for it. But that planning is well along, and we hope to see packages coming out for advertisement and construction within the year.
What does that do on the labor front in terms of is there a reduction of jobs? Is that something that has been difficult to negotiate, or?
There were negotiations on the automation issues, so the current ILWU contracts have that in it. There is a good dialogue going forward. There is a lot of interest on the part of our Board of Harbor Commissioners. In fact, we are in the process of forming a new ad hoc committee as part of our Board of Harbor Commissioners to address port efficiency, and this is one of the things they're going to be looking at is standardizing automation and having a good dialogue on how we move forward.
And with the extension of this goes till 2015, is that correct? 3 more years to January 15th, 2015?
That was the tariff.
It's an additional 3-year extension on this contract.
which would take us through.
Oh, you're
I
right,
think it is
you're right. This
2015,
would
yeah.
also go to 2015.
And so when do you expect the work to be done? What is the timeline for the China shipping and the tray pack work?
Tray Pack will have at least the buildings and probably the backlands completed at that time. There will be some additional rail yard work that may go beyond that. We'll determine as we approach that whether we would recompete this contract or whether we would go for a further extension.
And one last question on that. What are the terms of the contract in terms of extensions? How many extensions are allowed before the contract has to be rebid?
There are no particular stated number of extensions. The only requirement is that we come to council if we go beyond.
So you can do that indefinitely if they were to build for another 15 years or something, you could still do it off the existing contract with council approval?
With council approval, yes. Okay. And Board of Harbor Commissioner approval.
Okay. All right. Anything you'd like to add?
No, I think he's covered it all. We support what the port has submitted, and we agree with the principles of the report that they have. And my name is Alvin Newman, CAO.
Great. Okay. Well, I'll move the CAO report then. And these will both be communications from the member. So if necessary, and anybody wants to speak on these, we'll have public hearings on them in the full council. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I want to...
Could do number 2, perhaps?
Sure, number 2 is pretty easy. I know Mr. Rosendahl is any minute close by. Number 2, I guess, is just to move the withdrawal. Sorry, go ahead.
Yes, under item 2, the mayor submits for consideration his request that council receive and file the matter of his appointment of Mr. Christopher Pearson to the Board of Airport Commissioners, inasmuch as Mr. Pearson has asked that his nomination be withdrawn from further consideration.
Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and move that communication from the mayor.
Yes, so now the mayor has another 45 days to submit a new appointment.
From right now? Or
From
when council
the
takes
time of
action?
from the date of withdrawal of Mr. Pearson, or whenever we...
Do you know what day that was that he withdrew it? Just so we can follow the clock on that.
Let me see.
Oh, October 3rd?
Well, the letter from the mayor's council was dated October 6th.
Okay.
And I believe
that when
advising that Mr. Pearson asked that he be withdrawn.
So does the clock start with his letter? Or do we don't know?
That I don't know.
The clerk's office?
No, as far as I know, it starts from the time of the date stamp, but we still have plenty of time.
Okay.
From the date of receipt of the mayor's letter?
Of course.
The date we read, yeah.
And I anticipate the mayor will of course, appoint somebody. Just council has to track these things, too, just in case we miss it by a day or two. It's been known to happen. All right. Very good. We have 2 other items left. I'd like to hold one. Why don't we start discussing number 3, and we'll catch Mr. Rosendahl up on that.
Yes. Under item 3, the Board of Airport Commissioners submits for council approval a lease with Korean Airlines for use of an air cargo facility located at 6101 West Imperial Highway at LAX. Korean Air previously leased this site for 30 years and built the cargo facility on the site. Per provisions of that lease, title to the cargo facility has transferred from Korean Air to Lawa at the end of the 30-year lease. So now we have a new lease which would require the airlines to pay rent for both the land and the cargo facility. The lease would have an initial term of 10 years with an automatic extension of 5 years if Korean Air makes specified improvements. So there would be an anticipated total initial term of 15 years, and the lease also provides 2 options at 5 years each for another 10 years beyond the 15 years. The CAO has submitted a report on this matter and recommends approval of the new lease with Korean Airlines.
Okay. Airport CAO, who wants to go first?
Great. Okay. I'm Steve Martin from Los Angeles World Airports. Korean Airlines is the second largest cargo carrier at LAX and has been a tenant in this building, as was mentioned, for 30 years. This is a continuation of their operation, but a change in the economic terms, so that the building asset value that reverted to the city is now charged a market rent on the building. So, and as was noted, if they make investments in the building, the lease extends for additional term. If they don't, it becomes a 10-year lease.
Mr. Cio?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Good morning.
Crouch with the CAO's office. We concur with the LAWA's recommendation. I did want to point out, too, the CLA did mention the fact that, and I'll just reiterate the fact that Korean Air, as part of this lease, will be investing $7 million during the first 7 years for improvements to the facility.
And that's because we've assessed the buildings and it needs that, or they're just looking to do some improvements themselves? I mean, why do we negotiate that in? Obviously, if it's in their interest to do that for their own operations, they would do it anyway, but is it that we need that?
Well, it's related to the term. They want to make improvements that are racking systems and other sort of mechanical and equipment improvements to the building. The building was constructed in 1980, and the building really isn't configured to use the space as efficiently as possible. They want to make those investments, and they need the term to protect those investments. And we've allowed for the fact that if economic circumstances prevent them for some reason from making the investments, the lease will not have that term.
So we'll not, what?
Will not have the longer term.
Will not have the longer term, okay. Is that why we're looking at a shorter lease in general as opposed to the 30-year that we did before?
Yeah, we don't think that the original construction of the building itself did justify a 30-year term. Improvements within the building probably don't justify a term of that length.
Right.
But some terms appropriate if they invest, improvements in the building that are basically equipment that's, fixed to the building and you can't take with you and leave.
Right.
So.
Did they build the structure originally 30 years ago?
Yeah, they did.
And how has their, what is their cargo load like these days? I mean, what are we seeing as...
Kind of tracking the way the economy's tracking after the 2008 downturn. Things picked up and they've kind of leveled out now, and the reports we're getting now are the traffic's kind of flat. It's not going down, but it's kind of flat. I think the one thing we've seen is the appetite for investment in buildings is probably off a little bit from where it was even a year and a half ago, just because of the uncertainty factor.
Sure.
But traffic's generally flat, not going up, but thankfully not going down.
Right, right. And what is most of the cargo that they're bringing in by air? Is it pretty diverse, or?
Yeah, a lot of the cargo is consolidated at the Incheon Airport in Seoul, which comes out of a lot of areas in Asia, and consolidated, and then it gets here and it's redistributed through LAX. Across the U.S., a lot of it's electronics and other equipment that's manufactured in Asia. So.
Okay. All right. Well, I do want to make sure that if Mr. Rosendahl has any questions, he's able to. I don't know if his staff knows if other on this one. Is it okay to go for? Okay. It's number 1 that we want to talk about, right? Okay. All right. Well, why don't we go ahead then and move the Cio report, and we'll hold number 1 until Mr. Rosendahl is here. So we'll just take a short little recess, and then we'll take it up from there. Thank you.
Yes, actually, the reports are from both airports and CAO.
Okay. We'll move both. And perhaps on all the previous actions, actually, we'll have Mr. Rosendahl, so it becomes a majority committee decision. So, but we'll wait real quick until he gets here. Thanks. We're going down actually a lot these days. I've been doing That's still up in the air. Is Petronas? Warehouse.
Just one. Acting today, our vice chair. No, don't worry. Mr. Rosendahl, we took actions on 2 through
5.
5, and if you want to add yourself, that can be a majority report. It was
That'd be great.
Okay, so we'll do that, and then we've held number 1 because I know that was the one you want to do, and I'll turn over the chair to you.
Thank you. Morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Number 1.
Under item 1, we have motion Rosendahl Claret's sign, introduced on September 9, proposing that the council ask the Board of Airport Commissioners to direct its staff to meet with UCLA and other Westwood community stakeholders to develop a plan to save the Westwood Flyaway service. Also to ask the board to extend its review period of that service from 6 months to 1 year.
Morning.
Good morning. My name's Steve
Big
Martin.
question is, are we making money? Are we losing money? How long have we had it now? What's the ridership been like?
In general, we are still losing money. We are losing less money than we were losing before. And things are heading in a sort of a better direction in the sense that we're increased, as time goes by, we're losing less money. And so we are scheduled to report back to the Board of Airport Commissioners either in late November or early December on the results, and we'll have more results when we get there. But I think the deficit that was about $1 million is projected in the current form to be half of that now. We think there are things we could do to lower it further, and we're still trying to execute those plans.
What are you thinking of doing to lower it further? Anecdotally, I've been told the students are loving it and using it a lot. It's just that the community area there is not taking advantage of it. Is that true?
Well, I'll leave it to Pat Tomchek to give us any
Great.
details he has, because he's actually done the meetings. I think my reaction is that it's generally accurate, but go ahead. Yes, well, in
Name for the record.
Pat Tomczyk, transportation engineer for Los Angeles World Airports. In August, we met with the staff representatives from Council District 5 and 11, and Bart Reed from the Transit Coalition, I'm sorry. As a result of that, we have updated our website and clarified some issues that we had with our service hours. We've gone to printed about 5,000 new brochures for the flyaway, distributed 1,000 of those to UCLA, and we've been working with Google Transit to get the information for the flyaway on their website. This week, we're conducting a ridership survey for the people on there using the Westward Flyaway to determine how they knew about it, where they're coming from, whether or not they were a part of UCLA community, their trip purpose, so we can gather more information as to who our riders are and improve from there. And we've been providing information to UCLA on a or 2-week basis to provide them updates on how the ridership is doing. As part of the agreement that we have that lasts through January 31st, 2012, they are responsible for helping to promote the flyaway. And they have been going to homeowners associations. They've been putting advertisements on the kiosks in the UCLA campus. They have distributed 1,000 of their own flyers, other than the 1,000 that we had provided for them. And they have purchased ad space on their campus newspaper. So they are getting the word out. So when we get the information from the survey that we're doing this week, we'll be going back and sharing that information with them so we can help to determine who our riders are and try to increase the ridership.
Yeah, okay. The parking lot that it goes in, where does the shuttle go? And can local people, I know the college will use it to the max, and the more publicity they do, the more students will be aware of it. But is there a place where you could pull your car up and then get on it? I mean, how does it work for non-student type users?
Yeah, the bus stops on Kinross, which is on UCLA property. That's why we need an agreement with them, because the bus stop's on their property. It's the parking structure 32. And part of the problem before August 1st was that there was no dedicated flyaway parking for people from the public. As part of this new agreement that we have with UCLA, they have provided 25 dedicated flyaway spaces, and with the promise that they will increase that to 100 if demand necessitates.
And that sounds good to me. How often does it leave? What's the time frame for usage of this?
As part of the cost-saving measure, we did eliminate the half-hour service that we had. We looked at the number of people that were flying, or that were using the flyaway, and the numbers of riders on the half-hours service was not as high as the hour service. So in order for a cost-saving measure, we eliminated the half-hour service on Thursdays, Fridays, and Sundays. And we I'm sorry, I've lost track of your actual question.
That's right. I just want to know the times when it leaves, how often, frequent.
It's an hourly basis from
what time in the morning until when?
6
a.m. to 11 p.m.
6 a.m. to 11 p.m.
Good morning.
Good morning. And your name, please?
I'm Cynthia Guidry, Chief of Airport Planning.
Okay, so it leaves every hour on the hour.
Yes.
From 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. Do we have any numbers of the ridership? How many folks we're talking about using it on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis?
Yes. Well, we're trending at around 89,000 annual passengers. So I've got the numbers on a weekly basis.
No offense.
Small print. I can either have it on a monthly or a weekly, whichever you prefer.
Just give me whatever.
In the last month of September, there were 7,017 riders in the month of September. and that compares to about 8,900 for a year ago. And then for the first week in October, there was 1,365, and that's to and from LAX, as compared to 1,870 for that same period a year ago.
Okay, I got a bunch of questions for the record. Let me just go quickly with it, okay? What is the commitment that LAWA made regarding flyaway service as part of the LAX settlement agreement?
My understanding of the settlement agreement is that we are committed to start 9 total flyaways, including the original Van Nuys flyaway in that number. And I think we're up to 4 currently.
And what are the 4?
The 4 are Van Nuys, Westwood, Union Station, and Irvine.
I guess the best is Union Station, correct?
The best is Van Nuys.
Van Nuys.
Union Station's very, very good.
But Van Nuys is number 1. Yeah. And how are we doing down in Orange County?
Not well. The number of riders per bus is quite low. I don't know if it's, even average is 2 riders per bus quite yet.
You're kidding.
No. Yes, it's quite low. But we have a potential solution to increase the ridership per bus. We've been sent a correspondence to Metro asking them to consider allowing our flyaway bus to stop at a site along the Blue Line in Long Beach, so that we pick up additional riders using the same Irvine buses in Long Beach.
Are you doing it now on the hour from 6 a.m. to 11 a.m. in Orange County as well?
No.
What's the time frames? And
it's
even though we're talking about the Westwood, this is interesting.
Yeah, I didn't bring. I believe it's 6 round trips a day.
Yes, it is.
For
Okay.
2 hours.
Could we get a report back specifically on Orange County, the status of that, and where we go with it at the next time we can get together? And let's do that in about a month. We could do that. Get an update on that to see how it's working.
Yeah, and if I may,
Sure.
I think the reports that we do quarterly to the Board of Airport Commissioners, the concerns about Westwood really aren't related to ridership. They're more related to managing cost and revenue. The concerns about Irvine are about ridership, because it's just not very successful from a ridership point of view. I would describe Westwood as having a substantial number of riders that are achieving the goals of the settlement agreement, but Westwood probably isn't doing that right now. Sorry, Irvine is not.
Irvine, well, two in a bus is a disaster, so that's why I'd like a report back. I don't want to wait a quarter if we can get it within a month where we're at and how it's going. Do we have a plan in place to meet the commitment of 9 flyaway by 2015?
We are constantly, I would say, trying to find sites and routes. It's been difficult to find one that sort of perform or are projected to perform well. As Pat mentioned, we're looking at a Long Beach location to see if that works. I think the number 9 is, quite a reach given the performance we've seen, but we have a plan to try to bring them on periodically and meet the commitment.
Is it LAWA's thought that each flyaway service should be self-sustaining, or is LAWA willing to lose some money for the traffic and pollution mitigation provided by flyaway? I guess you're saying yes by the Irvine.
I think the process is still maturing. The board has, I think, from my read of it, been willing to lose some money on startups, but believes that ultimately each route should stabilize so that it's at least operating break even. But I think that clearly when we start a route, we expect it to lose money. Whether it loses money perpetually is another question.
Mm-hmm. Okay, take a deep breath. Where are you guys at on the Westwood Flyaway? We're going to keep it going, and what do you want to do? How do you want to go with it?
We are reporting back to the board in late November, early December. The board will have to take an action to extend our license agreement to use UCLA properties. That has to occur before January. My guess is we will recommend that happen. The next threshold event is the service is operated by a contractor, and I think later in 2012 the contract expires. So my guess is we'll be recommending at least running the Westwood through the end of the contract, but it's really the board's decision about whether to extend the agreements.
Okay, I have my thoughts. I really want to keep it going. I'll explain why in a minute. But Mr. Garcetti, we could go with public comment. Okay, let's go with public comment. Why don't you just stay there?
Okay.
And in case there's any follow-up. Is that Sarah? Sarah Malora?
No.
Mallory, from Paul Koretz's office, great. And Bart Reed, right after you. Good morning.
Good morning. Hi, my name is Sarah Mallory, and I am from Councilmember Koretz's office. I'm here on his behalf. Unfortunately, he had a scheduling conflict, but he did want to recognize what a great service the Westwood Flyaway is to UCLA, surrounding communities, Westwood in general. There's many changes that have been proposed, especially following the meeting with Councilmember Rosenthal's office, myself, and the Transit Coalition and concerned community members, as well as Los Angeles World Airports. And we think that there are some good changes that were proposed and that they need to take a little bit more time to be implemented to increase the ridership. So Councilmember Koretz just wants to recognize that it's a great service and that we agree that LAWA should continue working with the interested parties in this plan to save the Westwood Flyaway and that the year extension for review be granted. All right? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that. Bart?
Great, thanks.
Just before he sits down, where are we on marketing to the West LA and Century City area? Are we doing an outreach there? Are we working on marketing it to the greater West LA and Century City area?
But as part of the agreement that we have with UCLA was responsible for doing a market outreach to 4 different groups: the UCLA students, the UCLA campus community, the Westwood community, and the Westwood business community. And they have followed up with that. They have met with the homeowners associations and distributed pamphlets and spoke to the advantages of the Flyaway. As I said, once we have the information regarding the passenger survey that we're taking this week, we'll go back to UCLA and share that information with them.
Great, and when you do that, make sure you work closely with Mr. Koretz's office, and keep them in the loop, discuss it with them. They and my office obviously are the 2 West Side areas, but I'm giving great appreciation of Paul's desire to keep it going, as I have that desire to keep it going. So just keep meeting with his staff and with him,
Certainly.
and so on, over the next period of time until we come to the final report in December. Bart.
Hi, Bart Reed, Executive Director of the Transit Coalition. Really quickly, when we had heard about this initially, we became concerned. We met with community members and we met with staff of Flyaway, and we still remain concerned.
Sorry about that.
Put it on vibrate.
I'm going to put it on vibrate.
Last night I went to a meeting of the Council District 11 Transportation Empowerment Committee. Speaker was a gentleman by the name of Jim Thomas. Jim Thomas said, the Flyaway, they don't accept cash. It's Jim Thomas, of Thomas Properties. He lives in the West Side. He understands you don't accept cash. Other people are talking about their trading abilities to make deals while they stand in line
Hold on a second.
to take credit cards.
You
They don't take cash.
No.
Why not?
That was, historically, we've had a lot of difficulty with cash collections, and the audit folks recommended that we go to an all credit card system.
I don't accept that. Can you go back and put cash in the mix and make it work? I mean, not everybody has a credit card.
Well, I mean, in general, to fly on an airplane, you can't buy it. I don't think we've encountered people who
Okay, well,
have
just
credit
hold that thought. Keep going, Bart.
I'll reply to that point here. About a year and a half ago, Metrolink was on the verge of making a deal with World Airports to provide some ticket vending machines that take 4 credit cards. The World Airports does not take Discover Card. Metrolink takes 4 credit cards and takes cash. They just put it up on the bus plaza. You put one over at UCLA. You put them around the World Airport, and then the drivers can concentrate on driving rather than taking credit cards and delaying the passengers. But again, we met with Cynthia Guidry and some of the folks here in September and reiterated our request to move ahead with the Metrolink deal. Metrolink communicates with me. It's still sitting on the desk after a year and a half. So if World Airports did not want to take the responsibility for cash, Metrolink would take the cash, they would take a small commission, and we would have a seamless transit where you could take Metrolink and Amtrak and Coaster to Union Station, and you could pay in one machine. You could just select your destination as LAX, and therefore you buy one ticket, and then they would remit the $7 or $8 to World Airports less the commission. That was one of the deals. Just a couple more points. I mean, that's one of them. I went to Valley Boat. This whole conversation about not taking cash came up again. The problem is that we did research in public transit. There is no Federal Transportation Administration ruling that says you have to take cash. It just happens to be industry practice in America, Asia, Europe, Australia, name some more continents, South America. Everybody takes cash. World Airports, this is a tourism business. This is the tourism committee. Not taking cash is something like going to a restaurant and not having food. Moving on with some of the other points here. That's one of our concerns. We've met a number of times with the airport staff, and while we enjoy working with the staff and they're very knowledgeable, moving things forward does not move at a very quick pace. We believe that, for example, if they talk to the bus contractor and they want to adjust the bus contractor can adjust the buses within a matter of 3 to 5 days, but getting some of these things moving forward, they just don't move at any kind of a pace. So we're recommending that we think there should be a specific business manager to take care of this. We're concerned that looking at the numbers, over 4 years, the cumulative losses were $7,653,670. We do acknowledge that the losses are going down, but this is a unique type of service that should be breaking even. The problem with the mix and taking a look at their own documents is the first year they spent little under $500,000 advertising, but then they just reduced the marketing budget to $50,000 for 4 lines. That's, 4 into 50,000, that's 12,005. Well, maybe it's 50,000 for this line, but I think the budget this year is 50,000 for the 4 different lines. That's 12,500 per line. So there's almost no penetration in terms of that. Most marketing products have 50 cents or $1 of the ticket earmarked for a marketing budget. If you actually look at the LAWA website, if you don't punch in the word flyaway, it's not intuitive. If you just get the words airport bus or something else on Google, it's almost impossible. And then if you don't hit the right point of LAWA, if you type in lawa.org, it's real hard to find. There's certain LAWA pages that you can find the flyaway, but it doesn't search really simple. There's nothing intuitive in terms of getting to the service. We've written a letter, and we'll distribute it to the other people, but we are concerned about the metrics, because what happens here is this is a problem symptomatic within the city. You have a business center, which is the Flyway bus unit, and the Flyway bus unit should have an ultimate goal of breaking even, whether it's a product manager, a contractor that oversees it, or brings it in and works with the different team members of the airport, because the airport people are real busy. They've got lots of projects and they got more at them. But the Flyway, instead of losing the amount of money it can lose, should have a contractor whose specific skills and its team members work with the airport staff and bring forth the goal of at least break even. So this is one less city unit where we have to come back and say,
I got you, Bart, on all of this. What I'd like to do is I'd like you to set up a meeting with him, with your folks, okay? This is a professional volunteer on traffic issues and transportation, and he's done an incredible job over the years, and I have great respect for him. And I'd like you to sit with him and listen to what he has to say and collaborate with him. And I'd like to hear back how that collaboration went on all the levels he brought up. I don't accept the fact that you don't take cash. I'm sorry. You're going to have to find a way to take cash. How much does it cost to go from Westwood to the airport?
$10.
$10. So, $10. We have to find a way to make it work. I agree we're a tourist town, and that everybody has plastic, and that everybody has the plastic that we accept, and it's inappropriate to not use cash. I've traveled to 52 countries, and I've always had cash, besides credit cards and other things. I'm fortunate to have credit cards and so on, but not everybody can do that, and kids especially might not have a credit card. And so I'd like you to find a way to deal with it and give us that a report back at the next time we get an update on the Orange County thing. I'd like to know how you can work cash into the process. I think he's absolutely right. I mean, tourism is our number one opportunity here, and not everybody's got different types of plastic. So you've got to find a way to make it work, in my opinion.
Okay, we will report back on that.
Okay. Please, Bart.
Bill, for the record, I actually am a professional, and I've had contracts with HNTB, at least contracts, and a number of contracts with Metrolink, and I do have 6 years of experience with being a transit professional, among the other issues.
He's been an incredible community involved guy on every level, and I think he brings a lot of expertise and professionalism to the picture. That's why I want you to take
We'll
that
follow up.
meeting.
And we have met, we just, we want to see this come a success and all the routes work
Totally agree with you. Totally agree.
correctly.
Mr. Garcetti.
Thank you. I'm good.
Okay, so we will move forward with this. At this point, we'll get a final report back after you do the committee, sit with him, work some of this out, tell me next time we meet we got cash, and we'll take cash, and I want to hear a plan on Orange County and Irvine and how we're going to make that more successful. Thanks very much. I appreciate it.
But you still have to get off somewhere. Tell me, because I'm interested in this.
Should we do that?
We already did. We passed
good?
the other ones, so I think we're good to adjourn.
Okay, any public comment? Anybody else want to make public comment? So we have moved forward on consent, two of us, those other items on the agenda, and we've just moved forward with this. At that point, that's the end of the meeting. Thank you all for being here today.